Hey everybody, Cosplay Freddy here, aka Freddie Lee Jones III, and we are doing our first video for movies on the run. Again, our running theme rating system for movies, and today's movie is Cult of Chucky. Let me just go ahead and say that I thoroughly enjoyed this movie. Um, Everything about it made me think about the old 1980s and old 90s versions of Child's Play. Don't get me wrong, I can honestly tell you I have seen every last Child's Play movie, including um, Seed of Chucky and Bride of Chucky. Although I think the first three are obviously the better of the sequels, I love the introduction of Tiffany, and even though I wasn't too cool about the introduction of Glenn or Glenda and that whole storyline, it was still kind of cool to see, okay, what happens next in the Child's Play universe, if that's what we even want to call it. I will say this: I will try to keep it as spoiler free as possible. But first and foremost, let me just go ahead and get out some of the formalities out of the way. This movie was directed by Don Mancini, written by Don Mancini, and stars what is her name? Where she's at? Fiona Dourif, again as Nika Pierce, Brad Dourif as Chucky, Jennifer Tilly as Tiffany. Uh, I'm sorry, Tiffany and Jennifer Tilly. So, and Alex Vincent. So that was actually really cool to see Alex Vincent, reprise his role after his small cameo in Curse of Chucky, which I thought was really cool. So, let's just say you don't have anything to do on a Saturday night. What do you want to watch? Why would you watch Cult of Chucky? One, it is funny as all hell. Two, it's dramatic as all hell. Three, they deal with some real issues that are kind of prevalent into the state of where this particular movie is taking you. If you go through all of the seven movies, yes, there is seven. There are seven. I'm sorry, there are seven of these movies. The first movie, Charles Ray trying to get into put his soul into the soul of body of Andy. Part two, same exact thing. Part three, same exact thing, but with a twist. Now that Andy's in military school because his mom is institutionalized, he's sent to military school. Now he's trying to put his body inside of the soul of a young black kid named Tyler. Then you take Bride of Chucky, where you see that Charles Lee Ray, aka Chucky's girlfriend Tiffany, basically buys the evidence of him, conducts the same voodoo ritual, and actually brings his soul back into a patched up Chucky doll. Well, not wanting to be outdone, we all know that Chucky kills Tiffany and transfers her soul into the doll. They get married, and then they go on a killing spree with a young Katherine Heigl, the late great John Ritter, and I can't remember the guy's name, but that was directed by Brian Yu, who at first I liked the movie a lot, but then when I start watching a lot of the behind the scenes on how it was bad, and that the fact that Ronnie Yu had never seen a Child's Play movie and first and foremost doesn't even like horror movies. So I thought that was kind of an odd choice. But as a filmmaker, I would rather have somebody who has no idea to do a movie. That way they can put their own artistic spin on it. And I enjoyed Ronnie Yu's Bride of Chucky, and I also enjoyed his Freddy versus Jason. So I love the fact that you take a non-horror person, horror movie director, and then put their own little spin on it, and that's what kind of introduced us into the comedic side of it. So then we have six. No, there's six movies. Oh no, seven. I'm sorry. So then we go on to Seed of Chucky. Chucky's about to be Chucky done got lucky in the last movie. Now he's about to have a kid, and the whole gender idea crisis. That Glenn or Glenda didn't know who he was, and he wanted to be both. I was like, okay, so now we're adding in a little bit of a personal drama into it. And I think that's why these movies, yes, they are slasher movies about a killer doll and his killer doll girlfriend. But the fact of the matter is they kind of deal with like some real stuff. Um, Again, with the first movie, the mom is last minute with a gift. Part two, bounced around, a traumatic experience, and you bounced around from foster care, foster home to foster home. Part three, military school. Now you got to deal with people who are in the military school who actually think they're in the military already. And being former active duty, I've met a few fuckers like that myself. Sorry for the language. That was just me venting for a little bit. Then you take it to part four, Bride of Chucky, where, hey, he's getting married. It's a new step in life. He was supposed to apparently get married to Tiff, and he finally decided to do it in the most funniest ways. They proposed to each other pretty much. And then with Glenn and Glenda in Seed of Chucky, which I always said Seed of Chucky was made for the fans, for die-hard fans who wanted to see a Child's Play movie. And funny enough, here's something even crazy about that movie experience. Seed of Chucky was the only movie of the Child's Play franchise that I actually got to see overseas. I was living in Vocal in the Netherlands, and I drove to Eindhoven on a Saturday after 4 o'clock because in the Netherlands they show nothing but children's movies all day, which I think is like the funniest thing ever. But it kind of makes you mad as a film watcher because you want to see movies you want to see, but you can't because now you have to wait until later on. I think it was like 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon to watch regular movies because all of the theaters actually show kiddie movies. Now that I think about it, being a dad, it makes sense. So, past that. So now we come to Curse of Chucky, which I was actually kind of upset that it was going straight to video, but I kind of understood why. Would it have made money? Probably not after, Seed and Bride, which, still are pretty good entries, but at the same time, they weren't the best entries. But now, watching them later, yes, they are really good entries. And I love the fact that, like the Chucky movies to me are kind of like Hydra. There's one head, but yet there's all of these different tentacles of different stories that they tell. Yes, they do kind of bounce back and to the last movie or give special nods to the last movies, but they all tell their own standalone story, which I think is pretty cool, unlike the Nightmare on Elm Street series or the Friday the 13th. And I will say this, I'm one of the first or few people that will say Rob Zombie actually tried to do that with the first Halloween remake. I don't know what the hell he was doing with part 2, that whole white horse thing, but hey man, if you did it for the money, oh well, I can't fault you for it. I just know I would have done things a whole hell of a lot differently had I had the time or the money or the place and the actors. Did I mention the money? Okay, back to what I'm saying. Now, back with Cult of Chucky. Cult of Chucky was, like I said, it was all funny as all hell, but the fact that now Fiona's character is in a different mental institution, they actually talk about different things. And granted, it's a big facility on the outside, which I found kind of funny. It's a big facility on the outside, but yet you literally only see maybe 5 rooms. You see where they do group session where which is in one of the doctor's offices. You see what looks like a cafeteria, and you see the quiet room. No, I'm sorry. You see 2 quiet rooms, but the 2 quiet rooms are totally different. So I'm gonna say 1 quiet room and 1 sedation room, which out of all of the kills in this movie, the sedation room is the best kill scene that I have ever seen. You have characters in this show that deal with some really believable, and they actually play the parts of believable things that's wrong with them. And I know that was the wrong choice of words, but issues that are really wrong with them. One character suffers from a multiple personality disorder, And at one point, he think he's Mark Zuckerberg. At another point, he think he's Michael Phelps. Then you have another young lady who must have done something in her past because she's like really reserved, but she's more like a motherly figure. Then you have a schizophrenic who doesn't believe that people can see her, which I thought was like the funniest. She was one of the funnier characters without trying to be funny. It was just the way she delivered her dialogue, and it wasn't like goofy funny, but it was just the fact that she would say, "Hey, can you see me?" and people would be like, "Yeah," and then she would just go on about how she was a ghost and she's lived so many X amount of years and haunted all of these places. It was just the funniest thing. Then you have another woman who suffers from anger management issues. So I don't know if she was like a cutter or a or used to do self-inflicted pain and stuff like that. But it's funny enough to see like different horror movies where you see certain little tropes. And this is the one thing I'm gonna throw in as it's a spoiler, but it's not a spoiler. Obviously, Chucky, which to me, if you involve a killer doll in your movie, obviously, all bets of responsibility or reasonability, go out the window. But there's a scene where the aggressive woman is walking with the doll. She drops the doll, and you look at her arm, or you see that her arm has been bitten. So instead of the doctor listening to her when she says, "Hey, Chucky did it," because at first she was all against, Fiona, played by, Nika, played by Fiona Dourif. She was like, "Oh, you can't be believing this old nonsense. She killed these people, yada, yada, yada." She was the hater. But it was so funny that when she's bitten and the first thing the doctor says is, "Look at what you did to yourself." And she's like, "No, I didn't do it. Chucky did it." And I, as an audience member, am like, "Hey, how about you tell him, check the teeth marks," because they were like nice, like somebody really bit her, like the makeup was that good. And then they just sedate her, like, and granted, yes, we don't know too much about their relationship, but enough. So on that aspect, it really helps me watching movies like this because I do want to direct horror movies, but it also shows, like my writing instructor told me, that you have to develop your characters really well for people to care about them. And obviously, I cared about this one particular woman. So getting on to that I thought it was like kind of funny. Practical effects were amazing. I love the fact that they used little to no CGI in the movies. And to me, the puppeteering, obviously they get better, as the technology gets better. But I was expecting that certain shots, like, a lot of the long shots or the close-ups on the feet, I was expecting, like, a little person to be in the suit. No, or unless, that camera work was that damn good, I did not see any where I was looking at it and I was like, damn, that's actually kind of cool. And granted, yes, it could have been just a puppeteer with two sticks, just going through the motions of making them walk. But then there's a scene where you see a blurred out Chucky, and it's clearly a puppet, but at the same time, I think the background might have been CGI. But that's the funny thing about this facility because, like I said, it looks huge on the outside, but because they only show you so many, only a few rooms, they limit you with the rooms. There are some times, and everything is kind of like silver, white, and gray. Those are the main colors of the facility. And at sometimes it does look like it could be like a CGI background. There's one character, he's a male nurse, and he's sitting with his back to the he's sitting with his back to the hallway, and the lights start to turn off, but not enough to where it gets dark. They just get real dim. And then you see a silhouette right when Chucky's on the guy, and he just grabs a utensil and he's about to go on a hunt and whatnot. So other than that, everything else I thought was really good. Some of the lines were believable. But some of them were actually no. You know what? I'm lying to you. Everything in it, like conversation wise, because that's another thing. People in movies don't have conversations like real people. It's basically, it's a constant bounce back. You know, it's like you holding the ball, you throw the ball, boom, I catch it, then I give my line, and then you throw the ball back. So it's constant that back and forth banter between characters. So no one talks, you know, how we really talk in movies because we don't have that much time, nor that much film, nor that much data to get real conversations in film. So, with that being said, what did I think of it? And now we're about to do our first ever running themed review. And I'm sorry, rating, not review, because we're doing a review now. We're actually 15 minutes and 49 seconds into it. So, here we go. On a scale of 5K all the way up to marathon, I'm sorry, ultra marathon, we're going to give Cult of Chucky, drum roll please. Actually, no, we don't. I wish I had my running shoes out now. No, on a scale of that, we're going to give it a half marathon. Yeah, half marathon, which is a 13.1, which is good. Which is good. It's right down the middle. My only grief was it just felt like it was too short. Yes, it was an hour and a half long. I would have actually, honestly, I would have loved another 10 to 15 more minutes. So, yeah, that's what I say. Half marathon, which is still good. It's not bad. It's right there, right down the middle. Um, I enjoyed it. And I hope that you all get to enjoy it too. Thank you, Don Mancini, for another Chucky movie. And I can't wait to see where our killer doll protagonist takes us next. Cosplay Freddy out.